Everyone is talking about food riots. Every nation is doing something different to try to address the surge in food prices. Simon Hobbs takes us around the globe because this truly is a global story, Simon. Even though headlines are coming out of one or two countries, it's really everywhere.
Totally, Erin. Look, I want to show you just one day, the last 24 hours in the commodity crisis, and how policymakers around the world are battling in very different ways against surging food and commodity prices. And we'll kick off, of course, with the latest shockwave starting here in the United States yesterday, when the Department of Agriculture slashed its estimate for harvests around the world because of drought in Argentina and terrible floods in Australia. That sent corn and soybean prices another 4% higher, with wheat gaining another 1%. Now, as daylight broke across the globe, so did waves of government decisions as prices continued to rise. In China, food inflation is already running at double digits. In fact, authorities have been running down state food stocks to keep a lid on local prices. Beijing have been planning to import millions of tons of grain from around the world. It was another reason behind the higher world prices. But today, China abruptly cancelled that plan to import. Next, South Korea unveiling measures to calm prices by reducing import tariffs on fish and powdered milk. Its central bank also surprised markets by ordering a 25 basis point hike in interest rates and ordered an immediate review of fuel prices in South Korea, basically to discourage local CEOs from hiking their prices. Now, as dawn continued to break across the world, in India, fresh data showed food inflation there still running at almost 17%. Its authorities promising further measures, probably, we think, an outright ban on exports from India of all wheat and other commodities. Up in North Africa, Egypt, in order to avoid the sort of riots witnessed in neighbouring Algeria and Tunisia, its government today vowed to keep subsidising food prices and said it will find the resources from somewhere in order to do that. And in Europe, the head of the European Central Bank blaming rising energy costs for the fact that inflation in the Eurozone is running at 2.2%. The bank's president forecast prices would dip down below the target in the future, but if not, Jean-Claude Trichet left the 330 million people using the euro in absolutely no doubt tonight that they will face a hike in interest rates, and the euro has soared as a result. So, Erin, in just 24 hours, very different responses, from subsidy to protectionism, from the blunt interest rate rises to trying to cajole the CEOs.
And you know what's interesting, and you talk about rates going up, and there's no short-term solution probably to this problem, and that's a painful one. I wanted to highlight, since you had this great map, just Africa overall. We picked out Sudan just as one place. We have a little bit of video of what goes on in Sudan. And guess what? It's not just Darfur. There's a lot of farming in Sudan, which is pretty incredible. Actually, one of the biggest places in the world for arable land and farming, livestock, sugar, you name it. And it's across Africa. Uganda, Mozambique, you need it. A lot of countries have obviously already been putting money into Africa to try to get out crops. But if you were to take advantage of that land, and we're not really doing that because of all the social unrest, et cetera, there really is land aplenty to feed the people on the earth.
You think?
Yes.
Wow.
There really is.
I think
now, whether we can actually do that and distribute it correctly. I mean, you look at a place like Sudan, everyone, I mean, it's the biggest country in Africa. There's only about 10 to 15% of the roads are even paved. So you may have the land, but actually getting the corn and the wheat.
And it's suitable for agriculture.
Yes.